I'm going to talk about how to build a personal brand, and this does relate to building a company brand. I think there's a lot of parallels, but I think the best thing I can speak to is a personal brand. Does anyone in here post on social media regularly and like has a personal brand right now? Got a couple people, like maybe like 7, 8 people. Who wants to post on social media and have a personal brand? Who feels like they need to? So like most of the room, honestly, right? Um, I do want to ask, what do you guys actually want to accomplish with your personal brand? Is there anything like anyone has specifically that they would want to do with it? Lead generation for sellers or what? JV deals? Someone else over? JV deals? So basically to make more money is sounds like the overwhelming consensus. Um, I use this, my personal brand, to do all those things, so I think I can help to some degree and share at least how I'm doing it. So here's my page. I have an Instagram. I have a YouTube. Basically, I'm kind of like Courtney. I noticed that you don't want to be like how he said, you don't want to be the cowboy that markets. You want to be like for me, I want to be the business guy who also does mountain shit, for the lack of a better word, and then make content about business. So that's what I do. I mainly make Instagram reels. I'll talk about what that looks like. And then I make YouTube videos as well. So what is brand? It's a trust. Brand is trust. It's basically the most important thing you can do. I think this is one thing I really struggle with. And I think with a personal brand, you don't have to be extreme. Like you don't have to be like Andy Elliott and get up here and tell everyone to take your shirt off and like, grab each other's belly fat and stuff, which I think is hilarious. But, and I do enjoy that content. But I think that people need to love you or they need to hate you. They need to feel some type of way about you. It can't be, oh yeah, like he's cool. It needs to be like, yeah, dude, I really resonate with that. Or like this part of me like really fires me up. There needs to be some kind of emotional reaction when they think of you. Like people, when Courtney started making ads about the cowboy stuff, I was like, who is this fucking clown? I was literally, I'd send it to all my friends like, who is this fucking guy? And then it turns out he's actually pretty cool. But point is, like, immediately he, took out an emotional reaction. It was a really fantastic job by you. The next piece of this means in order to be loved or hated, you have to have a stance on things. I don't know if you ever hung out with people who have no opinions whatsoever. They're just like go with the flow with that, whatever they say. Pretty hard to be around those kind of people because they have nothing interesting to say. And this means that you have to take a stance and create a worldview of how do you see the world, what message are you trying to relay, and like what is the idea you're trying to teach people and get them bought into. And so for me, it's like, let's go have fun, enjoy our times in the mountains, and let's make a lot of money. And I want to do all those things, go on really epic adventures and like spend time outdoors with people I love and make money in the process. And that's for me, my worldview. And like one of the things like when it comes to a business perspective is like focusing on growing profit instead of revenue. And everything that I talk about goes back to that point. And so every time I make a piece of content, how does that relate to my big idea? And so that's very important. I'll talk about how to do that, but you have to take a stance. And you won't know right away when you're making content for the first time what your stance is, and it will develop over time, but you do need to develop one. Do you need to make a personal brand? I think you guys all answered this at the beginning. A lot of you guys want to do this for JV deals, for private money, for giving back, more credibility, etc. And I agree. I think it's super important. I do think that even if you don't want to build a personal brand, you do have to build one for your company because your company has to be trusted for people to do business with you. That's the bottom line. Like I was talking to a few people like, Destry, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, but I know we were talking about it. And you're like, dude, I just send texts and like have no way to stand out from the people who I work with, the realtors. And like, that's gotten you super far. Like you're crushing it, right? But to go to the next level, you're going to have to establish yourself as some kind of credibility and be different from everyone else in order to have the same exclusive deals that you're getting with the people right now. It's just kind of the truth, I feel like, at least from when I'm looking from the outside in. And that's just how it is. And I think that because the market's becoming more saturated, and it always does, like we were talking about this at an event, is wholesaling is really only like 20 to 25 years old. It's not a very old industry. And so what happens is if you look at like roofing, if you look at HVAC and some of these other businesses, they've matured in the industry. And all of the biggest companies in those industries have a very strong brand. They do a lot of billboards. They do a lot of this other stuff, kind of like Mark Spain does. And I'll reference him a little bit in a later presentation. But they focused on brand. And then that's why those businesses were also sellable, because they had something more than just some systems and processes, which allowed them to get a bigger multiple, in my opinion. One more thing, if you're not convinced on building a company brand, is I want to ask a couple questions. So in the prospect's eyes, who is the more reliable option to work with? A company with 100 Google reviews that are 5 stars, or with 5 Google reviews? Yeah, 100? Anyone think differently? Nope. Okay, cool. Or is it going to be, which one's going to be more reliable? A company with personal videos that explain their process, or just a company with automated text that seem like it's from a random person? Yep, the first one. What about a company with a website that feels personable, or a cookie cutter website with no personality, no feel? Yep. What about a company that sends spammy follow-up text, or a company that educates their prospects on how they help their customers? Yep, the second one. So these are just a couple things that I came off the top of my head that if you're not thinking about and doing actively in your company, then you're definitely not building any kind of brand. And this is, if you aren't doing these things, then you wouldn't plan to have a business for a long time. And so I think everyone in here wants to be successful. So I would be thinking about how can you implement these ideas into your company. So 1, coaching mastermind clients. Number 2, JV deals. Number 3, hiring. Number 4, affiliates. And number 5, business partnerships. Those are going to be the 5 ways, and I'll talk about each one and how I do it from a high level. So coaching mastermind clients. Basically, my skill set is helping people grow their business through systems and processes. And I started having people, when I was making content in like 2020, 2021, started having people ask me to help them. And this is kind of how this whole process started. And so I'm going to show you like how this all started when I was full-time only wholesaling and flipping, and then how I added this side income of using my brand to create a coaching company on the side. And so I started posting more about this once I had people asking me, because I was like, oh yeah, like now I have things to talk about that people are relevant. I have a little bit more information on where other people are at. And basically on the side, I was making $20,000 to $30,000 a month with 5 to 6 hours a week of work on the side. And then the only thing I did at the time was make contents about my ideas, beliefs, and day-to-day of what I was doing. And it just attracted the people who were basically interested in me and what I was doing. It wasn't anything crazy, honestly. It was just very basic stuff. So here's what I offered was we did 2 things. We had one-on-ones where we charged $3,000 a month. And then we had a simple like $1,000 a month mastermind where we just did 2 calls a week. And that was it. It was all virtual. There's nothing to it. We did $400K net the first full year we did that, and it was $500K revenue. So it was basically 100% margin. And so the point is, like, everyone in this room has some skill set that they're really good at, and that they could monetize just to help the people in their network out in a very, very, very powerful way. So for us, KPIs, systems, processes, what we were doing to grow our company, and it was great. A lot of people actually in this room were in that. So number 2, JV deals. So now that my brand's grown, I get people hitting me up all the time with deals. I think right now Nico, we're doing like 3 or 4 deals right now. So that's about 50 to 60K just for over the next like 30 days in gross profit, just from a couple of deals being sent to us. And I'm not even intentional about it. This is one thing that I'm going to do a lot better job on, is be very intentional about building this funnel out. But just people through osmosis are reaching out and like, hey, can you help me with this deal? Hey, can you close this? And we take care of it for them. So one thing we will do, we have 2 different options, is we'll actually hop on the phone and close the deal, or 2, we'll just help them dispel it. And a lot of times it's through the MLS strategy, because that's what kind of our unique position and unique offering is that we help them with. All right, hiring. So we've talked a lot about hiring today. I have talked a lot about that because I think it's very, very important. All the best people, and like obviously if you're growing a big business, you have to build a little bit different process. But for me, all the best people that I've hired have come through my personal network or a referral of some sort, and it through my Instagram. So like for example, like Braden, what I post on my Instagram, I'm looking for someone. You reached out, now we work together. Same thing with Ryan. Same thing with almost everyone who's been really talented on my team. Everyone in here pretty much met me on social media. It's just the best way to meet people in the modern age, in my experience. And the other piece is like when someone like, let's say they look up my company name, if they are going through an online job funnel, when they search up Level Up or they search up the CEO, Chandler, or whatever, they see my profile, they see this, they're like, oh, this is like a real guy. Like this is like a real person. And it allows me to be higher on a list right off the bat than any other company because it just sets me apart from other people. So because I have a following of people who all actively do deals and are actively doing the business, I get a lot of people messaging me wanting to promote their stuff, and I promote almost none of it because most of it sucks, truthfully. So you have to be very careful with this one. I preface it in a very important way because if you promote something wrong, it's going to crush your brand and your credibility. So you have to make sure the things you do promote are actually good, because otherwise, like, people won't trust you. And that's a very, very important thing. You only get a couple tries, right? And if you're like for example, who knows about like all these like famous people, like Logan Paul's like scam with crypto people and stuff like that. Like, it's kind of a bad taste in your mouth, right? And so like, he's not going to be able to do something like that again because a credible investor is going to do his homework and realize that that's not what you want, right? The common person doesn't care because he's got millions of followers, but I wouldn't invest my money with him personally, and I'm sure most of you guys wouldn't either because of what happened. So it's very important that you take this to heart. And I do about $150K a year from affiliates, which is I'm trying to grow that as well. But basically, the point of this is like, if you have a good service that will help your audience a lot, then it'll just naturally work. You don't have to try. It just, people use it through osmosis. And so the way I actually do this is I'll run like a masterclass and like have someone present. Obviously, I'm going to vet the whole back end of the company, make sure everything they're doing is very legit, talk to their clients, etc. Have a masterclass if it does work and it seems very legit, or if I've used it myself, and then kind of see what the people say. And if it's valuable, then people will use it. And if it's not, then people won't. And it's that simple. But you just have to vet, and then if they're worthy of the platform, then you can give them the platform. Business partnerships. I'll talk about this deal specifically in my next presentation, but one of the first real like acquisition deals I've done was I acquired 50% of a business for $0 that in the last 8 months has done $250K net, and I spend 2 hours per month on the business. And I'll talk about why, but basically because it's basically an affiliate, that's what it started as. And then I realized that like, hey, I can provide more value to this company than just an affiliate relationship, and also make more. And then I have 2 others that are newer, that do only around 5 to 7K total net per month. But it only also requires about 2 hours of work per month from me. And then the way that I do this, so those are all the ways that I monetize and kind of like what it looks like for me. The ways that I do this is through posting on Instagram and YouTube, as I mentioned. And then I have like a basic system to convert people through the funnel, right? So building trust with people. And so the way I get new followers is through my like top funnel like ad campaigns, which you guys see a lot of. I also do some nurturing and retargeting, like Courtney's mentioned, through that as well. But I get a lot of new followers from that. Like, I probably get 300 to 400 followers a month of people a month from doing that. That's the number, 300 to 400. It just kind of fluctuates between there. And then that's to get new people. That's the top funnel. The middle funnel is nurturing. So I'm like building a little bit more trust. And this is going to be through my Instagram stories, through my Instagram reels, my YouTube videos, and then our emails that we send out weekly. Now, as we've built a lot more trust and we get towards the bottom funnel, then we have like our conversions, which is where we actually try to make money. And so that's going to be like a direct offer. So for example, like when I posted this event, I was like, hey, who wants to be in this room full of people? If you do, DM me, kind of thing. I'll show some examples of what that looks like. But you can put those through email, SMS, Instagram, Facebook, and then that's how you get people to basically come in. So you have to create an offer. So who's read $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi? Pretty much everyone. You got to create an offer that people want, and then they message you, and then you sell them on whatever that offer is. So here's kind of how it looks from a visual, and I'm realizing I should have put this first, but I didn't. So, so the first thing, you start with the top funnel, you got no trust. Then you get the middle funnel, which you have some trust, and then the bottom of the funnel is you have a lot of trust, and then you can make the sale. People won't buy from you unless they trust you. People won't work with you in any capacity unless they trust you. And so it takes time to build that trust. And so this is all done in marketing, and it's a little bit different than where we're doing this on a sales call. And so I'll talk about how this works next. So for the messaging perspective, basically at the top funnel, this needs to grab someone's attention as they opt in for your free training, your lead magnet, or whatever it might be. And the free thing that you give the prospect needs to make them feel like, wow, this is really good, and I feel like this guy's spot on. It's very important that happens, because if you just give them a lead magnet and they don't use it, they consume it, they're like, this is trash, whatever. No one's gonna like remember you and they're just going to have no reason to follow you. And so the goal is to get new followers, to get new people to know your face, and to take the next step to explore you a little bit more. Like, go click on my pinned posts on my Instagram, go watch some of my reels, go watch my YouTube, etc. They will naturally take the next step if they like what they saw and what they heard. And generally, I'm only doing this on paid ads because it just, like, the organic, like, where you like post a lot of reels to get new followers, it's not super effective because everyone's doing it, but it is very effective in the middle funnel, which I'll talk about in a minute. So here's a couple just picture examples. Obviously, you can do video ads and stuff like that that promote something similar. But basically, it's like, here's a picture of like the 3 business models that I kind of developed for how I see like scaling companies. And I just said, this simple business model has scaled 37 wholesalers to 100K per month profitably. Message me business model, and I'll send over a 15-minute video explaining how. And so on this video, I could get a lead, someone opting in for like $10 to $15 that is actively doing deals. And then that's basically creates an ecosystem, someone who knows my face, someone who's interacted with my stuff. Same thing with this one. So this is 5 tips. This is a carousel post. So I had like a couple other tips. I actually only had 3 tips, and a couple people commented like, where's the 4th and 5th tip? But I forgot to post them. So, but the 5 tips I wish I knew when I was scaling my wholesale company from 15K to 300K per month. And then I send them to a video that I have on YouTube that's like an hour long that just talks about my journey, my thesis of scaling a company, how I look at it, what I've done, give value. And then people are, oh yeah, I resonate with that a lot. And then they continue to watch content. And so that's how it works from the top funnel perspective. Here's an example of a lead magnet that I would send out. It's just a simple YouTube video that I'll send them a link to. People have never seen it. You know, YouTube pushes it out to some people, but not everyone does. And yeah, basically they can download the blueprint, like the PDF. They can book a call with us if they want, or they can just watch it and explore other things. So that's an example. The goal of the middle funnel, and this is where a lot of people probably like are right now if you are posting content, is you are posting content to build more trust with people who already know you. So the goal is to educate people in more detail about how your system works. So if I say, like, let's say, hey, like, here's grow your company through profit. Okay, cool. What does that mean? Well, here's how we do it with hiring acquisitions people. Here's how our belief is for the business models. Here's how we track our numbers. Here's like all the little things that go into it. That's what I'm going to be educating them on to help them further understand, like, clarity on like what are all the things I'm teaching. And so like if you're trying to do JV deals, you might be helping them. Like if your offer is to go and lock up their novation, you might just be educating them on why they need to be doing novations, and then talking about how to identify that in their pipeline and how to set it up for you, and then why it's so important that they do this and learn this new exit strategy. That would be a lot of the content I'd be making. And then the messaging on this is it needs to address a problem the prospect already has, and then use a lot of testimonials and proof to back it up. So let's say, for example, you're trying to hire an acquisitions person. I'll make a video on hiring acquisitions people and talk about that. So it solves your problem and you're like, man, that worked. I made money from that. Builds trust. And so this can be a mixture of paid ads and organic posts, reels and stories. Here's some examples of some ads, stories that you can post. Basically, you're trying to get people to interact with what you're doing. So the 3 must to hire an acquisition manager who is better than you. Click learn more for the 3 must. And it's a cool picture of a mountain. Kind of like resonates with what my brand is as well. After hiring 25 plus sales reps, here are the 3 must to hiring acquisition managers better than you. It's very simple, but I'm just talking about how to hire an acquisition manager. And to go to the next thing. And then I send them a video that is, I think it's 12 minutes long, something like that. And essentially it's just me breaking down why it's so, like, why you have to nail this job, nail hiring this acquisition manager, and then like how to actually do it. Like, how do you go and find this person? How do you interview them? How do you know who you're looking for, etc. And it's very useful. It's 17 minutes, by the way. I lied. It's 12. Okay. The bottom funnel is where people already know and trust you. They've consumed a lot of your content. And then now it's your goal is to convert these people into paying customers or into JV partners or into private money lenders or into whatever it might be. And the way that I do this is through a direct offer, just by asking for the sale, basically, or asking for them to reach out or whatever your offer is. But it's just going to be a direct ask. And then here's some different examples. You can do this on your Instagram. Like I said, Instagram story, posts, reels, ads. It can be any of the mediums. But here's an example. So I'm hosting 40 wholesalers and flippers doing between $500 and $2 million per year in Denver, Colorado on April 17th and 18th. DM me if you want the itinerary and info. 5 more spots left for this event. These spots will be likely sold out by the end of the week. Again, there is a financial component, but if you're doing deals, it's not much. And so the reason we have 50 people here is because I had like 40 people DM me from this post, like literally on a story. It was crazy. And then another one is like, if you've ever wanted to work with me one-on-one, this is your chance. I'm opening up one-on-one access for 3 people this week, and you'll get this, 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 and this. DM me a scale if you're interested. So it's just like, what's the offer? What do you get? Why is it important for you? And then here's how to reach out to me to get it. So the personal side of a brand, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but everything I post has something to do with these things: time freedom, adventures, my thoughts, my dog, or systems, processes, and people in business. So when you see me, hopefully you think something like this is like what I'm going for. This is what I'm trying to make you think is Chandler takes time off to climb crazy mountains and is dialed in his business. That's what I hope to portray, because that's how I actually am.